Hi everyone, I'm Johan. I'm a bear maker, and this is Orson. He's a cat, though sometimes I think he might be half squirrel. Um, yeah, this is gonna be, of course he's gonna take all the... Orson, yeah, I was not gonna do an Easter episode at all. I was actually gonna do something completely different. But then I designed this bunny for Easter for you to make.
Go ahead and make me.
Now, I wasn't actually going to do an Easter episode yet, but because I had planned this other episode of handmade gifts, and I had planned the whole thing, and I'd made the gifts, and even got the patterns ready for you to download and make. And I was about to film when I realized that Easter is already in less than a month. So if I'm going to do an Easter episode, I have to do it like a month in advance at least, because if I'm going to make anything Eastery, then you'll have to be able to make it before Easter, right? Not when it's actually already Easter. So I had designed this bunny, this one to be exact. And so for now I just put the other episode on hold, and we're going to do the bunny now, so that you have plenty of time to make it either for yourself or as a gift. It's an easy pattern, you know me, I never give you anything difficult to make. I'll show you all the materials that you'll need, and of course you can download the pattern for free. It's below in the description of the video. You'll find the web address to download your free PDF file with the pattern. What are you doing? Orson, what are you doing? I will show you how to make the bunny more or less step by step. Not all the way, because most of it you'll be able to figure out yourself. It's really not complicated. The pattern will look something like this, except of course it'll be on A4 size when you download it. All you do is cut out the pattern pieces, and it also says on the pieces, it says how many of them you'll need. So for instance, here the leg, you will need that piece 4 times, so you cut it out 4 times. It's as simple as that. First I'll show you all the materials that you'll need to make the bunny. You may not have felt at home, and you might have to buy some, but the rest of the materials I'm sure you'll have already. In the example I'm going to use just a piece of felt like this. It's a blue bunny, we're going to make a blue bunny. And the other stuff you'll need: some buttons, preferably more colorful than this, so you know, if you have any other buttons that are more colorful, that's better. Of course you'll need some thread in different colors, and then of course your needles, a seam ripper if you make some mistakes, and some of this polyfiber fill. Of course a lot more than this, but this is the best stuff to use to fill it. And then to make his little tail, I used some cottontails that I bought especially for it, but you can of course also use a little pom-pom, and it might actually be even more fun than a store-bought cotton ball. You can see that I gave them the cotton ball fluffy tails, but you can just use a pom-pom. And then finally some embroidery floss to embroider the features on the face. Before I start, a little disclaimer. I just recently bought a whole set of kitchen knives, brand new, very, very sharp kitchen knives, which resulted in me cutting off half of my finger. It was a question of, are we going to the hospital or not to get this stitched up? In the end, I didn't, and like a grown man, I put on a Star Wars Band-Aid to make it all better, because as you know, we're all grown men are just 8 years old in the end. And yeah, it made it better, but it hurt like hell, I can tell you. I'm just telling you this because even though it's not my good hand, it's not my sewing hand, but it's a bit awkward when I'm doing stuff now because I have to keep this finger in the air most of the time. So just so you know. So we start with cutting out the pattern pieces. Here we have the side of the head, the top of the head, the ear, the body, the arm, leg, and the sole at the bottom of the foot. So to get the pieces on your material, the felt, you can, of course, just put the pieces on and then outline them somehow. But you don't actually need to do that. For instance, this ear, I'll show you that just now. The ear piece you need to cut out twice. So I'm just going to estimate we're going to need this much. And then just fold it over. And cut it apart, then put the earpiece on. No, actually this is a bit too narrow actually it's just right, but I should have cut out a bigger piece, but for this purpose it's all right. What you do without having to outline the pattern piece is that you simply hold it in your hand and cut around 1/2 centimeter, or if you prefer, 1/4 inch around the pattern piece, just like so. That saves you the time of having to outline the pattern piece on your material, which also might stain, you know. So there you are, 2 pieces, 2 ears. And you do the same with the rest of the pattern pieces. Of course, with the leg, for instance, this is a piece you're going to need to cut out 4 times. So I don't recommend that you have 4 layers that you cut out at once, but just cut it out with 2 layers twice. So these are the felt pieces all cut out in the right amounts. The only other things that we have to cut out are the inner ears and the soles of the feet, and we're going to use like a nice contrasting cotton for that. It could be anything colorful, anything fun, but it's nice to use something that's in the range of pink, because the inner ear will have that material, and it'll look more like an inner ear when it's a bit pink. But it really doesn't have to be. You can really use any kind of colorful material that you like. In order to cut them out, all we do is take one of the ear pieces and just with the right side facing the felt. See, this is the right side, this is the back. Just cut it out. You don't have to cut any kind of margin or seam allowance because you've already done that with the felt. So that's one. We cut 2 of these, and then for the sole we use the same material. Actually, it doesn't have to be the same material, it can be something else, but it's nice if it all sort of matches up in that sense. Now here we do cut a seam allowance because we haven't cut this out of felt at all, so we just put it on the material. And again, give it about the 1/4 inch to 1/2 centimeter of a seam allowance around. You really don't have to be super precise. And again, also we do this twice because the rabbit has 2 feet usually. So that's what we do. The body parts that we're going to create first are the ears. So we cut out the felt pieces and the cotton pieces. Again, remember, with the right side facing the felt. And we're just gonna sew the ear closed from here to here. So all the way like this, leaving the bottom open. Now, I like using a double thread. I've said it before. I usually use double threads when I want something to be sturdy. So in this case, definitely. I'm also going to put a knot in the end of my thread. The nice thing about felt is that when you bury knots in it, for instance, yeah, you don't really see them because they do get buried, and if you use the same color, they're almost invisible. Now I've got a little quirk, which is I don't like the ends of the thread behind my knot, so I tend to cut them off. There we go. Now you just start sewing, and remember, you've given it about 1/2 centimeter or 1/4 inch of room when you cut it out, and that's what we're going to use in the seam allowance. This is going to be the simplest of stitches. You can choose your own preferred stitch. I like to stitch in the same spot a few times when I begin, and then I'm just doing the repeat stitch like this. Felt is not hard to sew at all, and it's very forgiving. It doesn't wrinkle easily. It gives way to the tightness of the thread that you put in. There's usually no effect on it because it all just moves with the tightness of the thread. As you can see, you just get this nice little edge, and you really don't have to pull too hard on your thread at all. Just make sure that you're not leaving any loops anywhere, because it does tend to happen with felt. It's one of the drawbacks, but this is just the easiest, and it's a pleasant little job as well. And yeah, I don't recommend that you do this on the sewing machine. Of course you can. There are people who are just attached at the hip to their sewing machine, so to speak, and are convinced that they can't hand sew because they've never done it. But nah, come on people, it's easy. See, here we have some of the loops I was talking about. Just pull on the thread and it'll disappear. And so here we are at the end. I like to give it a few extra stitches at the very end. There we go. And then just make a little knot here. Like so. So we make 2 of these, and then we turn them inside out. Okay, so it's turned inside out now, as you can see. What we do now, at this open bit, we fold the corner into the middle and the other corner over that again, like so, so that it's, see, now it's already a bunny ear. So all we have to do is attach this with a few stitches. It doesn't have to be super neat because this part where the stitches are, that will disappear into the head, so you won't actually see that. So again with a little knot, and just, and there we have the first bunny ear. So you make 2 of these. So now we got 2 ears, and we have to attach them to the side head pieces. Now this might actually be the hardest bit that you'll do in the entire bunny. This has to be very precise. What we do is we attach the ear in this little cut that we made, this dart. Now what you do is you take the bottom part of the ear, stick it into that V shape, like so. That, it's not really focusing. Why is it not focusing? There. The ear is now in that V shape, but we want the ear to stick up when we assemble the head. So we put it at an angle, like so, and then we attach the ear to the V just by stitching the 3 layers together. You see the layers, and we stitch them together. Now just check once in a while that the bottom part is fully immersed in the head. So we do a few extra stitches there. There. Now your headpiece should look something like this. See, with the ear at an angle sticking out. And you do this for both pieces. Of course, for the other headpiece, you do it in mirror image. Otherwise you end up with two pieces that you can't attach to each other because they're the same. So be very aware of on which side of the headpiece you're attaching the ear. Now we've got the ears attached. We'll finish the rest of the head. The next step is to attach the two headpieces. You put them together with the good sides facing each other. And the good sides are the ones where you don't see any stitching. Here's the stitching, and you keep that on the outside because, of course, we'll be turning the whole head inside out once we're done. Now, what you do is you attach the two pieces from the nose down to the end of the neck. Only that little section. So let's do that. So there we are. We've attached this part, the nose, all the way down to the neck. And then we end up with this. The next part we're going to attach to the head is the middle piece, and that's this one. The point of it is the nose, and so it starts at the nose here. The middle section here that you attached is where you put the point of this bit. So on top of it, you just put it on top of it like so. And then you attach it with a few stitches. Like so. So there. Now that we've attached the point of the nose to where the nose begins on the face, we're going to go either left or right to attach the rest of the middle piece. So the middle piece will go along this edge, and then on the other side the same, but of course in mirror image it'll go along this side. So let's do that. So we've sewn from the nose all the way to the forehead to the point where we attach the ears, and that's a little bump in the road, but like all bumps in the road, we just have to go across them carefully. So what we do, this is our ear, right? That's the ear. And this is the middle piece of the head that we want to attach. So we just fold it over the ear. Just fold it over. And then we just stitch through the whole, all of the layers that are there, so that you include the ear in the seam, like so. And then you can just continue on behind the ear, attaching the piece to the head, all the way to the back of the head. Just to show you, this is how the ear is now attached. See, this is what it's going to look like on the good side. So we finish attaching the middle piece. And make sure that the ears are on the inside when you sew and not on the outside, because then you're going to be stuck once you try to turn the whole thing inside out. So make sure the ears are on the inside while you're sewing. So after both sides have been attached, you'll end up with this weird object with the ears sticking out of the neck. Of course, now we're going to turn it inside out. There we go. It's not hard with felt at all, because it always gives. So this is your head with the ears. Make sure that you fill out all the nooks and crannies. Just use a blunt instrument to push out all the seams, like so. Righto. Now, it looks a bit thin, but it'll fill out when you put the poly fiber in. And so that's the basic head. Right, so now the next step is to create the arms and the body. And all you have to do is sew along the outer edges of the arm and the body. I'm not going to insult your intelligence by showing you how, because it's very straightforward. Only thing you have to keep in mind in both cases, with the arms and the body part, is don't forget that you have to eventually turn it inside out. So you have to leave, at least with the arms, I would leave this part open so that I can turn it inside out from there. And with the body part, let's say that this is the front of his tummy and this is his back, then I would leave, say, the middle part of the back open so I can easily turn it inside out. As an example, I'll use the body part, which I've sewn together, as you can see, leaving an opening here. I'll use this as an example to show you how to turn it inside out, fill it, and then how to close it with a stitch that will be almost invisible. It's a bit of a delicate job turning it inside out, because you don't want to tear the felt in any way. Okay, got most of it inside out. Now we just push the seams out as much as possible. There we go. So now we have the inside out body part with the opening for the filling. We'll just take some of the stuffing. I found that when you work with small pieces, it's best to also use small dots at a time instead of one big lump of it. You just push it in as far as it will go. You can use a little tool as well. And you just fill it until it feels solid but not overstuffed. So now that we've stuffed it, we want to close it in a way that the stitches are not very visible. And the best stitch you can use for that is the ladder stitch. You start by putting the needle underneath the start of the opening. Give it a little tug so that the knot stays there. Then you go to one side of the opening, you go in and out again, like so. Pull it Then you do the same on the other side, in and out. Pull it tight. Again on the other side, in and out. Pull it tight. You will have to push down the stitches in the felt a little bit to get the best results, but keep the thread tight. Again on the other side, in and out. And it's called the ladder stitch, of course, because you're kind of creating a little ladder here. In and out. Push it inward a little bit. There we go. On this side again, in and out. And this side. See what you've created now? See, is you can still see some stitches, it's sort of inevitable, but the tighter you pull it, the less of the stitching you'll see. Also remember, this will be at the back, so it's not a disaster if some of the stitching is visible. Just finish it up now with a few more stitches. And there you have it. See? It's a good close stitch. I'll just make a little knot. And then I'll make the thread disappear into the body, like so. And there you have the body. Once you've stuffed the body, you're actually ready to also stuff the head, as I've already done here, and attach the head to the body. You just insert the body piece into the head. Of course, you have to make sure this is properly stuffed first. Yeah, you just sort of line up the seams of the face and the body. And all you really do is you go around the neck to attach it to the body. It's a bit awkward to hold it in your hand, perhaps. If you do find that it's too hard to hold it like this, and so at the same time you can always use some pins to hold everything in place. Now the stitching here doesn't have to be pretty, because all of it will disappear. You just go around. And don't be worried about you know, unsightly stitching. I'll show you with one of my older bunnies that I made. You see the neck and the head, the stitching there, it's not visible at all. It just, oh, there we are, in focus. It's not visible at all because, for one thing, the arms take up that space as well, and it just recedes into the neck. You don't see any stitching. So we just go around the neck to attach it. And for extra security, I would go around a few times, not just once, but yeah, just to be sure that it stays where it's supposed to stay. So there we are. half of the bunny is already done. Now all we do is attach the arms and legs. For the legs there are some specific instructions. Well, specific, not to be confused with Pacific. Specific instructions. Because before we turn it inside out, as with the other body parts, we have to attach the soles as well, like so. So that means we need two openings. We need both the opening here where the sole is going to be attached, and we're going to need an opening to turn it inside out. So in order to accomplish that, we start at the sole of the foot, or the heel I should say. This is the heel. So a few stitches here, maybe a centimeter long. There, that's long enough. So we've sewn it from the heel up to there. So this is the start of the opening that we're going to use to turn it inside out. So we're going to continue sewing from, say, this point all the way around to the toes. So now we have the leg all the way sewn around here and here. We've left the opening to turning it inside out and the opening for the sole. And now we're going to attach the sole. This piece, put the right side down and just fit it into the opening. Now, once again, if you find it hard to hold it in the right place and sew at the same time, you can easily use some pins to keep it in place if that's easier for you. But at this scale, I don't really need to do that because it's small enough for me to just hold it in place with my hands. We'll start at the top, the toes, and we take into account that margin that we've left everywhere. So that's about 1/2 centimeter to 1/4 inch. And this is basically a question of going round. And that's it. So now you're ready to turn it inside out, stuff it, and close it up. So once you've stuffed and closed all the different body parts, we're ready to attach them to the body. And we're doing that with a kind of old-fashioned system with buttons. The buttons, well, the ones I've chosen are sort of color coordinated with the bunny, but you could even just go for a completely different color, just, you know, whatever you prefer. This method allows for the limbs to move, so you can actually pose the bunny. You can make him sit, you can make him stand up. It's a little bit tricky at first, perhaps, to attach the buttons, but I'm going to show you how to do this right now, and it's might be a little bit tricky, but I'm sure you'll manage. First you hold one of the limbs, in this case the leg, in position. For this little task I'm using a quite long needle, as you can see, because I want to go through the entire body. And this just enables me to find the hole in the other button that will be on the other side a little bit easier. So first you enter the leg from behind, like so. And then there's a knot at the end of the thread. Look, this is a little bit unsightly, so I will just cut it. The rest of it won't be visible. Then, here comes the big trick. We attach one of the bigger buttons. I'll just put you down, bunny. Just like so. And sort of, this is the tricky part where you have to hold it. Like so. And then, with the next stitch, because you've already used one of the buttonholes, now you go through the second buttonhole, through the entire body, to approximately the same spot on the other side. You see that? That's how it's done. You can pull this quite tight. So now we're on the other side, and we basically repeat the same thing. You take the other leg, go through it at the same position as you did the other leg. You see, this is how it's supposed to match up. And you pull. You try not to get your finger included. Like so. See the legs, they match up. Make sure they're in the same position. Pull. You can make it a bit of a tight pull. It doesn't, you don't have to be careful here. Then we attach the second button. There we go. It ends up the same spot as it did on the other side. And now comes the big trick. We go, once again, we go through the body in the second hole of the button. And then, holding it like so, we're going to attempt to find the other hole, and I just did. I found it in one go, to find the other hole in the other button. And it doesn't matter if you have to try 10 times, then, just try 10 times, because, there's no need to be nervous about it, because there's nothing here that can actually go wrong. So, you just pull it tight again. And we do this a few times. I would say 5 times. And now we go into the other hole again. Then we aim for the hole on the other side. And so we do this about five times, so that it's nice and secure. Once you've gone back and forth about 5 times, 6 times, whatever makes it feel secure to you, we'll bury the thread, and we'll just do it by entering it into one of the holes once more, but instead of pushing it through the entire body, we'll just push it. There's no nice way of saying this, but pushing it out of its little bunny arse. There we go. It looks a bit odd. Never mind. So then you can make a little knot here. Like so. And then you just bury
the rest of the thread in the body, like so. And you just cut it off. And then it's gone, no longer visible. And we do the same with the arms, of course, with smaller buttons. It's a bit more finicky, but oh, actually this is the wrong way around, see? This is his hand. So we do it like so. Okay. Now with all the limbs attached, your bunny is done. As you can see now, because of the buttons, you can pose the limbs however you want. You can make him sit, as I said. He can stand up. Yeah, of course, now all we need to do is give him a little face. And I'm not going to show you how to do that because I want you to do that yourself and come up with your own style. And you can just copy the ones that I made. Here, let me see if it focuses properly. As you can see, I just used embroidery floss to create the face. Very simple stitches, very easy for you to copy if you want to. The eyes are simple black little beads, but you don't even have to use those. You can also just use floss for that. To give it a little bit of depth, I put some white floss underneath the eye so that it has a bit of the idea of a real eye. Yeah, this is so simple, I shouldn't have to show you, because you can do that yourself. Oh, and don't forget the tail. As I said, it might even be more fun to use a pom-pom that you made yourself. So I'm going to give our blue bunny this tail. Our blue bunny is finished, so now we can join his other bunny friends for Easter. There we go. I hope you enjoyed this special Easter Bunny episode. If you did, give me a like, subscribe even, leave a comment. I always read all the comments and I reply to all of them. If you happen to make one of the bunnies yourself, show me the pictures because I'd love to see them, and I'll put the pictures up on the Facebook page or on the Instagram account, or anything else you're making for Easter. I'm very interested, so show me. Okay, that's it for now, and thank you for watching. See ya. I